He was born on a small island far from the world's biggest stadiums, in a family where money was always tight and dreams were often postponed. His childhood was simple, sometimes harsh, but full of noise, movement, and endless energy. Football appeared early in his life, not as a planned career, but as a natural escape. The ball became his companion, his comfort, and his way of expressing emotions he could not put into words. As a child, he was different. Losing made him angry. Crying after defeat was common. While others played for fun, he played with obsession. Teachers noticed his restless nature, coaches noticed his talent, but few believed it could lead anywhere serious. In his neighborhood, football was entertainment, not a future. At home, discipline was inconsistent, but determination was not. He ran, trained, played, and dreamed without understanding how big the world really was. There were no guarantees, no safety nets, and no shortcuts. Only raw ambition, and an intense desire to be more than his surroundings suggested he could be. This early stage of life shaped his mentality. It taught him hunger before success, frustration before praise, and effort before reward. Long before trophies and recognition, there was simply a boy who refused to accept that this was all life had to offer. At a very young age, he was forced to make a decision that most children never face. Leaving home meant leaving comfort, familiarity, and emotional safety. The academy promised opportunity, but it also demanded sacrifice. Long corridors, shared rooms, strict routines, and constant evaluation replaced family dinners and childhood freedom. Loneliness became part of daily life. Calls home were short. Homesickness was intense. Doubt appeared more often than confidence. Many around him struggled under the pressure, and some quietly gave up. He didn't. Instead, he learned to survive in silence. Training was relentless. Mistakes were punished. Competition was everywhere. Every session felt like an exam, every match like a final. Slowly, discipline replaced chaos. Talent alone was no longer enough. Structure, repetition, and focus began shaping his game and his mindset. During these years, his personality hardened. Emotional reactions turned inward. Frustration became fuel. The playful child started transforming into a driven athlete. He learned that success would not come from comfort, but from endurance. This period didn't make him famous, but it made him resilient. The foundation was being built, quietly and painfully, long before the world knew his name. The next chapter of his life arrived suddenly, and without mercy. A new country, a new language, and a league that demanded physical strength as much as skill. The pace was faster. The tackles were harder. Mistakes were publicly criticized. Expectations were immediate. At first, he struggled. His style was flashy, unpredictable, and emotional. Critics questioned his effectiveness. Opponents targeted him physically. The pressure was overwhelming. But instead of resisting change, he adapted. Training intensified. His body transformed. Strength and endurance were no longer optional. Decision-making became sharper. Tricks were no longer performed for applause, but for purpose. Slowly, performances improved. Confidence followed results. This was the first true transformation. Talent began aligning with discipline. Effort turned into consistency. He learned how to win, not just how to impress. Success did not arrive overnight, but it arrived honestly. Recognition followed. So did responsibility. The young player was no longer just potential. He was becoming a leader, learning that greatness required constant evolution, not comfort in past achievements. Success reached its peak when many believed it could not go any higher. A new environment demanded even more. Expectations were no longer high, they were absolute. Every season was judged, every performance analyzed. Winning was required. Instead of relying on speed alone, he rebuilt himself again. Movement became smarter. Positioning became lethal. His body was maintained with extreme discipline. Recovery, nutrition, and preparation became obsessions. Goals followed patterns. Records fell. Pressure increased. But so did control. He no longer reacted emotionally to criticism. He anticipated it. Mental strength separated him from others. These years defined dominance. He delivered in decisive moments, under the heaviest scrutiny. Success became routine, but never comfortable. The hunger remained. The work never stopped. This phase proved that his greatness was not accidental. It was engineered through repetition, sacrifice, and an unwillingness to remain the same player year after year. Time eventually challenges everyone. Speed fades. Recovery slows. Expectations change. For many, this is where the story ends. For him, it became another test. He adapted again. Experience replaced explosiveness. Positioning replaced speed. Intelligence replaced instinct. He remained decisive, not by outrunning opponents, but by outthinking them. Criticism returned, louder than before. Questions about relevance filled headlines. But he continued, driven not by approval, but by personal standards. Training remained intense. Discipline remained strict. This stage was no longer about proving greatness. It was about preserving legacy, inspiring others, showing that evolution does not stop with age. Today, his name represents more than trophies. It represents resilience, reinvention, and refusal to accept limits. His journey proves that greatness is not defined by where you start or even where you peak, but by how many times you are willing to rebuild yourself.